just wanted the cookie. Otherwise, I would have gone to the Hampton Inn.
Well, double treats better because if you stay on the highway, you got transient meth makers one pots, and you get caught up.
You roll on live report?
Yeah, some of those are a little sketch.
Yeah.
Roll me an hour.
Whatever it is.
She's coming in the boat.
I think it's definitely not. Are you going to stand behind her in the country?
Yeah, I'm good.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
That'll be normal. Rescue, Middlesex County Hazmat.
Yeah, I'm sorry, something.
Yeah, I'm going to mess it up. So someone's going to get the short end of it.
That'll be EMS.
Let it be us. Let it be us. Let's figure to remember.
Wait. At least you're just saying hazmat. Like
You guys all know each other? Is this the,
Oh, hazmat sounds
friendly?
That's not Middlesex County Home Hazard. That's the thing with Tina.
When was the last one?
What the hell are we doing now?
Yep. Okay. Yep. You guys recorded that. I went there today. Yeah, we were there. We 2015 with the guys. Yeah. These are guys. They're good people. Yeah.
Well, at least they got you in the shade, right?
Yeah,
That kayak and
oh, yeah. I mean, it was funny. So every time I try to move, somebody moving the car out into the sun for me. It's like, I have to do something.
oh, you know who I did a press with Lori King? She was at the
Okay.
because he's going to know.
Yeah, it's fine. They want to start with
5.
okay. Last I saw him,
I know they're trying to get permission.
we got permission. We got permission.
She came down. And she's donating.
Actually, no, don't wait for me. I'll be the one talking.
It was very good.
If I forget something during my press briefing, I may ask one of you to correct me, like if I screw a name up like a town or something like that. It's not, but only if I ask. Otherwise, I'll just eat it. Because I do that all the time. This is Kingston. This is Kingston. This is Kingston. Period. It's not New Brunswick. It's not. It's Kingston. Not South Brunswick. Well, we are. No, it's not. No, not for the purpose of this.
We got you.
Right outside of Princeton.
No, I know you guys have it back.
We got you.
It's fine.
Give me a 120-second or 2-minute warning.
I can't get to it. So I can get the female.
Thank you. Just so you know, I don't think it's coming. I see no cars.
I got a 97.
Okay. Well, I'll do 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Just
If someone records right at the last minute, I'm like, you're penalized. I'm like, sorry. And 2:59, 59.
how about a 20-second?
20 seconds.
Give me a 20-second. Is there anyone live?
Yeah,
Streaming it live? Okay. Oh, but it's streaming it. Okay. Well, I have to get my composure now. So,
We're ready, sir.
are we ready? Is it 10 seconds now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
10.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Aaron McCarter, Air Safety Investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board based out of Washington, D.C. I was deployed yesterday, August 31st, 2023 at approximately 15:20 or 19:20 Zulu time. We got notified of a helicopter accident that occurred here in Kingston, New Jersey that resulted in one person on board who was fatally injured. This is what we know so far. A Robinson R22 Beta, registration number 2356 Mike, that's November 2356 Mike, was involved in an accident here in Kingston, New Jersey. The helicopter departed Princeton, New Jersey Airport. The identifier of the airport is 39N, 39 November. It departed approximately 15:12 local time, 3:12 p.m., flew east, then went out of control while at 800 feet above ground level, where it subsequently suffered a catastrophic failure and fell into the tributary about 1/4 of a mile behind me. It impacted trees and terrain and is now resting in 5 feet of water along the coast, along the shoreline. The pilot, who was a sole occupant, was fatally injured, and he was a foreign national from Israel, and our thoughts and prayers go out to him and the entire family. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the South Brunswick Police Department, the New Jersey State Police, the Kingston Fire Rescue, and the Middlesex County Hazmat Team, along with the New Jersey State Park Police. I have been given outstanding, almost unprecedented support during my time as an NTSB investigator here for this very accident. So I thank you all very much for the support and the logistics that you guys have provided us. The on-scene portion here is a very small part of a much larger holistic process. I'm going to be on scene here between 2 and 4 days, depending on how difficult it is to recover the helicopter. I have a salvage team that is on their way up as we speak from Clayton, Delaware. They specialized in aviation and helicopter extractions and operations and salvage. They're going to be here in a couple of hours to assist. When I get back to the Washington, D.C. area, that's when the real work begins. It's going to be collecting all of the non-volatile memory, not just electronic memory, but also the memory of individuals and witnesses. I have solicited for doorbell cameras. We already have some fantastic photographs that were taken by a witness yesterday that is hugely helpful. We are going to be compiling all that information, and then that will help us determine what the ultimate probable cause is. So this process could take upwards of a year. In 5 to 10 days, I will have a preliminary report out the door that'll have the basic information, everything that we've learned on scene so far. In 6 to 12 months, a factual report will be completed, signed off by the NTSB board members, and a probable cause shortly thereafter that. So again, this is a much smaller part of something that's very large and complex. It could be a very complex operation. We're going to be looking at 3 things: the man, the machine, and the environment. The human being is the pilot, his qualifications, how often he flew, how much experience he had in this particular helicopter, how much experience he had in all aviation. I do know that he was flying for an airline overseas, so I do know he was a seasoned pilot. I do not know as of right now how seasoned or experienced he was in the helicopter. That information is coming in the next couple of days. The machine are the technical aspects of the machine. The failure modes, what the rotor blades were doing, what the engine was doing, what the tail rotor was doing. A helicopter is a very complex machine. It has a lot of moving parts. And I do know that there are some rumors out there saying that the helicopter came apart and fell to the ground. That is partially true, but the helicopter actually went out of control first and then proceeded to suffer a catastrophic failure. So it does not appear that a catastrophic failure existed first. It appears that the helicopter went out of control and subsequently came apart on its way down to the earth. And we are looking at the environment, the weather, air traffic control, and how all those 3 things interact with each other to help us determine what actually occurred. So with that being said, I'm free to answer any of your questions.
Sir, you mentioned the pilot. He did have seemingly a lot of experience at the age of 44. Do you know, had he been flying that same aircraft for the last couple of weeks that he's been here training? And of course,
For what I understand, yes. Yeah, you wanted to know if he's been flying the same helicopter. I don't know if it's the same helicopter, but I know it was the same make and model helicopter. It could have been a different version. But he got here last week, and he was supposed to be here for 10 days, and he was adding on a commercial certificate to his, he was doing an add-on here at the local airport, and he was going to be heading back to Israel once that was completed.
Was he required to have a trainer with him since he was still learning how to fly?
Was he required to have a trainer with him? No, he was not. It was a solo flight, so he was getting some solo time in the helicopter.
So he was certified to fly?
He was certified to fly the helicopter solo, yes.
I know you said it'll take up to 12 months or a year for you to figure out what exactly did happen. Is that usually the case?
That is usually the case. It takes upwards of 12 months to figure it out because again, it takes a long time to collate all the information. You know, we have a lot of work to do back home in terms of engineering support. I don't know if I have to send any equipment or pieces of the wreckage back, and that takes time. And we want to make sure we get it right. You know, we can't afford to just hazard a guess as to what occurred. So it takes a lot of time to put all the pieces together to figure out what happened. So yes, it could take upwards of 12 months.
At this point, do you know if the aircraft was like up to code and everything, or
at this point, it's too soon to tell. I arrived last night. I actually met the local authorities here at about 10 o'clock just to kind of get a layout of the land. I talked to them briefly, went back to the hotel, and arrived on scene this morning at 08:30. Because of the disposition of the wreckage, we haven't been able to get a really good view of it yet. And from what I understand, there's the water is not exactly the safest to be traversing. There's some algae blooms and bacteria in the water, so we're doing our best to recover the wreckage first before we dig into it.
Sir, if back to the pilot again, how many more hours did you need for that certification? And was it to fly commercial helicopters or commercial air? I don't know the difference between a pilot's license.
It's too soon to tell right now. I have to dig into. I haven't looked at the pilot's background completely yet. I'll have a better answer at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
Do these choppers have flight recorders?
These helicopters don't necessarily have a flight recorder per se. All right, so there's no crash-hardened box like you would see on an airline that survives catastrophic events. However, there is some equipment up in the cockpit that could serve the same purpose as a flight data recorder, based on the instrumentation itself. The so-called boxes where the primary flight displays. A lot of those that equipment can contain upwards of 100 parameters that could help us determine what happened. So yes, we just have to be hopeful that it survived the accident.
Sir, you did mention man-machine environment. Yesterday was a rather breezy day. Are you considering weather? Was that
We are totally considering weather. I'm going to have a weather study done to see how windy it actually was. I heard it was breezy from some. I've heard from others that it was very calm. But again, we're going 800 feet up, and the weather down here is a lot different than it is 800 feet up, just like it's different over on the bridge that's right over the water versus right here. So there's a lot of factors that go into determining the weather, but that's a critical component of the investigation. So we will be looking at that.
Can you talk about what kind of training was being done at the time, and what it consisted of?
I can't go into the specifics of the actual training that was being done. I do know he was going for his commercial add-on. Okay, I'm not going to get into the weeds what that is. You can go to FAA.gov and look up what commercial add-on is on the FAA website. But he was trying to get flight hours in that helicopter to add to his commercial rating for his helicopter, because he was already a certified pilot and he flew for another airline.
Why would he come here to the U.S. to do that? Do I understand?
We have some of the best training in the world.
Well, that's true. But is it less expensive here?
Unknown. I'm not sure. I don't know why he would come here for the training, but it's very common for pilots to come overseas and come to the training.
Is there a plan for the salvage, like by crane, by boat?
I'm glad you asked me that about the salvage. Matter of fact, you guys will probably wind up seeing the initial start of it. The team is about 45 minutes out right now. They're coming up from Clayton, Delaware. They're going to have a large trailer, a half track that has a crane on it, along more than likely an ATV. But they also have a helicopter in their back pocket in the event that we need to extract this with a helicopter. These are professionals and they are experts. I've seen them extract airplanes from far more difficult circumstances, and they will probably spend about an hour or two going through the scene and trying to find the best way to get out the helicopter. I have time for 2 more questions.
Just based on what you've seen preliminarily, do you think he took an evasive maneuver to avoid populated areas, the restaurant back here, the highway?
I can't. I don't know that. I don't know if he took evasive maneuvers to avoid the populated areas or anything like that, because it does appear that the helicopter went out of control pretty quick, and there was more than likely not enough time or control of the helicopter to make that decision.
When you say it suffered a catastrophic incident, what was coming? Were the blades coming apart? What did those pictures show?
About 30 seconds before the helicopter experienced a catastrophic failure, it was going out of control. We have witness statements saying it was flying erratically. We have photographic evidence saying that it was taking some pretty steep turns and spinning. As that was happening, the maiden rotor blades struck the tail boom. The helicopter was at an unusual attitude at the time, and the rotor blades struck the tail boom, severing the tail into 3 separate pieces, and then the rotor blades also struck the canopy ahead of them. So the helicopter is a very complex piece of equipment, a lot of moving parts, and that's ultimately what caused the failure and resulted in the fatal loss of life. Okay.
Can you say and spell your first and last name and your
Oh,
title?
sorry about that. I forgot to do that at the beginning. It's Aaron McCarter, A-A-R-O-N, last name McCarter. That's M-C, capital C-A-R-T-E-R, Air Safety Investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good job.
Good job, everybody.